I want to start this a little differently than I did last time. How many of you enjoy living and or working in Ottawa? Why?
It's the best distribution center around.
Best distribution center around.
Safety.
Safety?
Quality of life.
What's that?
Quality.
Quality of life. Okay.
It still has a small town feel to it.
Still has a small town feel. I love that for all those same reasons. Now I hadn't thought about the best distribution facility, but I'm sure you're right. I've told this story as I go around and doing this. I think we've done 17 of these so far, maybe a couple of more than that if I've lost track. And it's been fun to hear the different reasons why people like Ottawa. A little over a year ago, my wife and I had been to the City Band concert. Bob said something about small town. We are a small town. We're not tiny, but we're small. We're small enough that we know our neighbors, and we know the business people, and we know the people around, and we know the librarian. But a year ago, my wife and I were at the City Band concert, and it was just before the 4th of July, and they were playing all that wonderful Sousa music. And the last one they played was Stars and Stripes Forever. And I watched the crowd as that finale continued, and they rose to their feet, and they clapped in rhythm to the music, and they cheered when it was over. And Bev and I picked up our lawn chairs, and we put them under our arms, and we're walking clear across the park. And there was very little noise except people walking. And just almost under her breath, she says, "I love living in Mayberry." Now, we're not Mayberry, but it's that small town feel that both she and I enjoy. So it's why we enjoy living here. And yet we also know that if we're not a vibrant, growing community, that we will lose that we love about Ottawa, the small town feel, the quality of life, the safety, even the best distribution facility around. We will lose that if we don't continue to be a vibrant and growing community. I'll take you back, and I think the sign up here says 60 years ago, Ottawa built its existing industrial park. My understanding was there was a handful of town fathers, John's told the story, that came together and they pooled the money to start that industrial park. And you think about where Ottawa would be without that, without the Kalmar industry, without our own, not our own. Yeah, I did date myself.
It was an important part.
But it was an important part of bringing American Eagle here. And but for that building sitting out there, we probably wouldn't have American Eagle. And you think about the Hasties and the McFasteners and the ATC and Monoflow and all of those, how blessed we are to have those jobs here in this community, and it's because of the forward thinking of the town fathers. Okay, let's talk sales tax for a little bit. Yeah, I laid a graph that shows the city sales tax, just the city portion only, and how we compare to other cities in this region. And when I say in the region, I'm talking both in the greater Kansas City area. Topeka's included in that, Lawrence is included in that, and then some of the smaller towns around that most of us travel to once in a while. And you'll see that Ottawa is the third lowest city portion only sales tax city in that region. Back in 2006, the governing body asked the voters to approve an additional half cent. At that time, the city of Ottawa had 6/10 of 1 cent sales tax, and the governing body was asking for an additional half cent. That's how we got to the 1.1. The voters approved that. In the process of that, they also said that there would be a 10-year sunset. So in 2016, July 1 of 2016, that half cent goes away. And so now this governing body is asking the voters to reapprove that, to reaffirm that half cent, pointing to the things that they promised to do and did do, and that was property tax relief, infrastructure, and jobs. Okay? When you look at the property tax relief for the first 3 years, the governing body promised to lower the property tax by 6 mills, and they did that. In fact, if you look at that average over that first three years, it was more than 6 mills for each one of those years. Over the entire length of time that tax has been in place, that has been more than 2 mills lower than what it was before it was adopted. That is an average of 2 mills over that length of time. So, again, the governing body is asking to reaffirm that ½ cent that sunsets in 2016 and add to that another ½ cent. It's not a full addition of 1 penny, it's the addition of a ½ cent. What are we going to do with that ½ cent? Well, with the original ½ cent, they're going to continue to offer property tax relief, continue to encourage jobs to come to town, and to continue with the infrastructure. Look at the infrastructure that's been going on at the streets, the sidewalks, the trails, parks. Now, some of that's been funded with grants, but without the sales tax being in place, we wouldn't have had the matching funds to be able to make those things happen. What's going to be done with that new ½ cent is to help bring jobs to the community. When we go back to that new industrial park that was purchased last fall, over 300 acres out south of town here. I'm going to let Jeff talk about that a little more in detail. Over 300 acres that the city and county leaders came together in a wonderful cooperative effort to be able to purchase that 300 acres with the intent to build a new industrial park. Not to replace what we have, but to add to what we already have and to continue to bring jobs to the community so that Ottawa can continue to be that vibrant, growing city that we are. And yet, the challenge is to hold on to that wonderful Mayberry feel that Ottawa has. That will be done with a mail ballot. That is, every voter, every registered voter in Ottawa will receive a mail ballot on or about August the 12th. That ballot has to be turned back into the county clerk's office no later than noon on September 1. It can either be walked in or mailed in. So what we're encouraging is that when that ballot arrives, that the voters open up that ballot, read through it, make sure you understand it, vote your conscience, put it back in the return envelope and ship it back in. Now you have to sign it too. As I understand, you have to sign it. And the county clerk was very firm that I couldn't sign for my wife because my signature would match hers. So you only sign your own ballot and don't sign for somebody else, which of course is the natural thing to do, but she was warning about that. So
that's just for people that live in the city of Ottawa?
That is correct. You'd have to be a voter within the city limits. That's right. And there's still time to register. If you're not a registered voter, there's still time to register. You can register up until August the 11th. So I'm going to flip it over to Jeff here for a bit.
Thanks, Scott. I'm going to pass out a handout too. Sean, if you don't mind helping me pass these out. This is a handout that you guys have, for the most part, seen before, and we talked about a little bit last time Scott and I were here, but this is a layout of the new industrial park. And what I'm going to do is just give you kind of an update on where that project is, some of the nuances behind the scenes there, and how, especially the ½ cent sales tax, fits into the larger perspective of being more aggressive for economic development locally. So Scott mentioned, that this sales tax is in a way broken up into 2 parts: the renewal of the existing ½ cent, which would be used for the same uses that the city has used it for the past 10 years, and then a new ½ cent to really run infrastructure out to the new park and create a capacity for new jobs. So just to kind of give you a quick refresher, if you're looking at this layout, the top side of your page, that's Interstate 35, left-hand side is US 59 highway. In the corner here where you kind of where 59 and 35 come together, that's where Love's is. So essentially what the city did is they bought a ½ mile east-west and a full mile north and south of property, so right at 320 acres. One of the things that you can't see on this layout, but the city actually purchased this last little piece, this little 13-acre piece that provided us with that full frontage there on 35 a few months ago. So we have control over all this property. And what this new sales tax will do will allow us to fund the city's portion of the infrastructure out there. So the water, sewer, electric, broadband, which is the city's, call it contracted portion of the relationship that we have with the county to put infrastructure out in the new park. Total cost of all that stuff, total cost of the entire project is very expensive, over $20 million. City's portion is half of that, give or take. So essentially what this does is it almost covers the cost of putting that infrastructure out there. So when you guys drive around the Kansas City metro area, you see the type of projects that are going in the metro area. Drive up 35 and go past the new intermodal and look at the giant buildings that are going on up there. Those are the kind of projects we're trying to compete with here locally. And without infrastructure in place, it's really hard for us to be an attractive location. Essentially what we're marketing right now is farm ground with utilities close. Well, that, and you know, Walmart can tell you the same thing, that just isn't real competitive in today's market. So, you know, to get this utility in place is really the next step that we really need to take to be really competitive. I will tell you, and Scott and Wendy can substantiate this, we continue to market the site even without utilities out there. We worked a major project last year. We've had a couple of leads this year that we've already worked. But for us to be really competitive, especially when there's other places that have shovel-ready property and more pad-ready sites in some places, we really have to have that infrastructure in place. To go back to some comments that Scott made, just to give some clarification on a couple items. One of the concerns that we're hearing, I guess people are saying to us, is this a full 1 cent sales tax? And I just want to make sure that there's clarity there, that this is really just an additional increase of another ½ cent being added to the sales tax. Total all-in sales tax in the City of Ottawa with a new ½ cent will be 9.6%. There were some people that came to us and said, it's going to be over 10%. We said, no, it's 9.6% all in. So just add that clarity too. Scott and I were kind of talking the other day. You said you went up and bought a burger up at somewhere in Lawrence, and it was already 9.9%. So even with this extra increase, and you can see that on your chart, we're still less than our competition. So our main goal, really, Scott and I's main goal, is to give you the right, well, good information so you have it. You can be an educated voter. You know what the process is going to be. Scott mentioned, you know, the sales tax is going to be a mail-in ballot. You should see that ballot in your mailbox about August 12th or so, give or take a day or so. And like Scott said, you'll have until September 1st at noon to get that ballot back to the county clerk office, either via mail or with a walk-in ballot.